Hello and welcome back to the Chattercade podcast, where I discuss media in the forms of discussions and reviews. I'm your host, Drinking Thomas Hughes, and today I want to start off before I actually get into my topics by apologising for not having an episode out last week. I originally did record an episode, it was like about 34 minutes long, and it was me giving my early thoughts on my basically early impressions of Assassin's Creed Shadows, because obviously at the time of recording, obviously the last week's episode I was about 4 or 5 hours into it, so obviously I wanted to give my first sort of brief thoughts on the game, and I did say like a 30-40 minutes talk on that, but when it came to editing, I noticed the audio was all fucked, and by the look of it, because my other stuff wasn't fucked, when I plugged my webcam in, my OBS decided to go, you know what, no, this microphone that's sitting right in front of you, that's not your main microphone. This webcam's now your main microphone. So I believe it basically turned my webcam into the mic, and my webcam mic isn't the best, or at least I don't think it is. And I think because obviously there's a bit of a difference in terms of distance from me to it, that it wasn't really recognizing a voice, because the audio bar was every now and again you had like a slight bit of noise, and that was it. So it basically fucked the whole thing up, and meant I had to just delete the entire episode. And I never got a chance then from the point of my original recording session to obviously when it was due out to actually sit down and re-record it. So I just had to scrap it, which was a shame because I don't like getting rid of video, especially considering I've wasted like 30-40 minutes recording the video. I think the reason I didn't, obviously, it wasn't just obviously I didn't have time to sit down and record again, which obviously I didn't. I generally didn't. I think even if I did have like a spare moment to do it again, I think mentally I just couldn't. With the fact that I'd already done it once, I was just like, I don't really want to be doing it again. I've on occasion I've done it before, but it's just like it's deflating when you've wasted that time on something that you could have been doing something else, and it was the case of I'm not even risking it again. I'm generally hoping this episode's going out. If you are seeing this right now, hearing it right now, then it's gone out, and I'm very happy that it's gone out and not been another straight to recycle bin, empty recycle bin, never happened situation. So we'll see how this goes. But anyway, so today I'm actually going to be talking about two pieces of media. There's two recently released action movies here in the UK. I know one of the movies did come out a few weeks ago in America. I think it came out around March 14th over there. And I do believe this other one came out, obviously, this one's obviously is brand new for both UK and US at the exact same time. It's just one, for some reason, they released earlier elsewhere. So it meant I had to do a fucking back-to-back day trips to watch these movies. But I'm okay with it because I had a fun time both of them. And the first one is going to be Novocaine. That's the one that was obviously released a few weeks ago as a stateside and a few other places as well. But then over here, for some reason, it was just like an end of the month situation. And obviously, Novocaine is directed by, I've got my IMDb up ready, Dan Burke and Robert Olson. And it stars Jack Quaid in the titular role. Obviously, he plays Nathan Kane, aka Novocaine. And the premise of the film is pretty simple. He is a assistant bank manager, falls in love with someone who basically works with. One day the bank gets robbed, she gets taken hostage, and then he goes on a crusade to rescue her. Of course, though, there is a twist to it. Not just for the fact there's a twist to the whole bank robbery situation. Obviously, the twist of the movie itself is that he can't feel pain. He has a genetic disorder, which means that he generally can't feel anything. So, you shoot him in the shoulder, he'd just be like, obviously he wouldn't feel it. He'd just go, oh, I'm bleeding. Oh, shit, I'm bleeding. Like, he wouldn't actually have felt the bullet wound. So that is the twist of this movie. So it basically is a by-the-books type action flick in a sense of there's a romance there, there's a hostage situation, and this person's now going on a crusade to rescue the hostage for obviously the robbers' escape or kill said hostage. But I say, obviously, then it's got the twist on it of, well, this guy isn't normal. He's essentially a superhero, as obviously the love interest played by Amber Mindhunter says in this. He's basically a superhero because of this lack of essentially feelings in his body. So that's obviously the twist to the by the books action heist hostage flick, essentially, is what is the type of movie this is. And generally, I had a lot of fun with this one. And this is one that, out of two we watched this past weekend, this was the one that I hated and wanted to watch the most. Because, I mean, every time we go to the cinema over the past few weeks, past few months actually, this movie consistently advertises. And it looked a lot of fun. It looked quite funny. Jack Quaid looked like he killed it in this movie. And as I say, we were both very much looking forward to this, and we went into it, and I think we both walked out going, that was a really fun movie. It was probably exactly what we thought it'd be, maybe even a bit more better, because it is generally really fun. Obviously, Jack Quaid, again, as I said, as we thought beforehand, he looks like he's going to kill it in this movie because he does a good job, especially on the back of Companion. Obviously his villainous role, he definitely kills it again in the good guy role, like he does in The Boys and the Superman animated series he's a part of. Well, he's the main star of, at least. Obviously, as I say again, he kills it in this role. And I saw like an interview with his dad, Dennis Quaid, and obviously that he was being asked about obviously if he's watched this movie, and he's like, yeah, and he was like, he shows that he can handle being a lead actor in a movie, and being the main focal point, the main star of the show. And I have to agree with that because he generally is a standout of this movie. He does a really good job with the comedy, which is no surprise really, because after watching The Boys, you know he's going to be the comedic role. You know he can do that perfectly, and he does that really well in this. And obviously that helps with the whole not being able to feel pain, because there's a bit obviously that's in the trailer where he's got like an arrow in his leg, and there's a guy basically kind of wiggling it around, and he's obviously having to pretend that, oh, I feel the pain, ow, it's hurting, like that. There's a lot more to that than what's just in the trailer, and he does obviously a really good job of obviously forcing the humor, essentially, is what I'm thinking here, because obviously it's very clear that he's like, it's a forced humor, but it works, just because obviously in the context of the movie, that feels like a natural response to trying to cover up the fact that, well, if this guy knows that I can't feel pain, he's probably gonna basically kill me on the spot. And at this point in the movie, obviously he needs to drag out this situation a bit longer until he gets assistance. So it makes sense that the natural response would be pretending to feel the pain. But as I say, obviously, it kills with the humour, which is, as I expected. But he kills it with the action side of the movie as well. I think he does really good as the action hero star. Because there's some really good fight scenes that he's a part of in this movie, and they are enhanced by this plot of lack of pain receptors. Case in point, the fight scene that's in the kitchen, which is in the trailer, where obviously he grabs the pan, which is boiling hot, and wails it at the guy, and the guy grabs it, and obviously it burns his hand. And he's like, oh, those are third-degree burns, so you might want to get that obviously dealt with. And then, of course, the part in the trailer where he grabs the gun out of the deep fat fryer, despite the fact that it's fucking oil, so it would burn your hand off. Well, wouldn't burn your hand off, it'd burn your hand. Obviously, that helps this fight scene like be a lot more over the top, or else it'd just be like this run of the mill. More than likely, he'd be getting his ass whooped, because obviously, realistically, he's a nobody. He's not someone who would be able to if he was a normal person, without obviously with actual pain receptors, he wouldn't probably stand a chance against this more clearly trained bad guy. But for the fact that he's got this lack of pain, it allows him to actually stand a chance in the fight because he's able to go, okay, I can grab stuff that's hot, use it as a weapon. Yeah, it's damaging me, but I'm not feeling it. So I'm able to actually use that to my advantage. This guy, he's got knives, he's got guns, but I can use whatever I want and get away with it. And then there's obviously like some moments later on, obviously involving like broken bones, gunshot wounds, and there's obviously all this stuff works for this movie heavily because of the lack of pain, and I like that. I think that's why I like the twist in this movie of the lack of pain, because it helps these action sequences be a bit more unique, a bit more fun at times, and a bit more, I want to say gruesome, because there is like a part of the action scene, I say, involving like a broken arm, and you wouldn't be able to get away with doing that if this was a normal guy with fighting. Yeah, you would, but at the same time, you could argue, obviously, this if it happens in like a normal film, this person would be in agonizing pain to the point of they probably wouldn't be able to finish said fight. Whereas in this case, he can finish the fight because he's not feeling any of that damage there. And I say that really works this movie, and I think it really works obviously with Jack Quaid, obviously hamming it in with the pretending to feel pain at times, and also just leaning into just being this action hero. Because as I say, he does the comedy perfect, he does the action perfect, he does the more serious points perfect. And at least two of these moments you can get from his past like movie and TV show roles, i.e., so the humor, you can look at The Boys and go, okay, he's a lot more humorous in that show, so he can handle comedy. The more serious moments, yes, there are serious moments in The Boys as well, but I'm looking at more Companion when he played the villainous role. You can go, okay, he's literally just come out of this other movie, which was excellent, by the way. I also love Companion. It was such a good movie. So again, he can handle the more serious moments when required. It's just a case of, can he handle the action perfectly? Because there's a few moments where he's like involved in action in The Boys, but nothing like massive off the top of my memory. Because again, he's more meant to just be like this average, like run the mill type guy who's kind of just thrown into this situation. And I think the main point when he, like, you could say, like, he gets fully into the action, maybe when he gets the superpowers, but even then, his superpowers aren't designed for the fight. They're designed to get away from the fight. But I say it's one of those ones where you're like, can he handle the action? I personally think he can. I know he did Hunger Games, but I never watched Hunger Games, so I can't really argue that after watching that, you can say as well, yeah, he's easily able to do the action stuff. I've never watched it, so I can't really argue that point. So because I don't really know how much of a role he had in those movies. I know he's in the first one at least, but I don't know how much action he actually saw. I doubt he would have seen as much as he does in this in terms of like the hand-to-hand combat. Since obviously a lot of Hunger Games is more about the weapon side of it. But so I've never actually watched the Hunger Games franchise. I mean, I think I started to watch the first one and fell asleep, so I can't really judge his, obviously, the possibility of him being good in an action movie from a movie I've not really seen. But as I say, without taking his Hunger Games role into consideration, I say at least two parts of this, the role for obviously his performance for this role, the comedy and the seriousness, you know he can do. It's just, can he do the action? And for me, he nails every single portion of his role perfectly. And obviously on top of that, you've also got your villainous character, another son of a legendary actor. Obviously, you got Ray Nicholson, obviously the son of Jack Nicholson. Someone who literally, I keep seeing in everything lately. Obviously, he was in Small 2, and then he's in that new one that's coming out, or at least it's come out in some places. That one, obviously, where he's playing like a home invader. So, again, just like Jack Quaid, he's kind of in everything at the moment. And it's understandable because, again, as the villain in this movie, the unhinged villain at least, he performs it perfectly. Again, he's got some action moments, particularly towards the end of the movie, which he does really well with. And then, as I said, the more unhinged side of his character, which you get early on, and you get moments consistently throughout. He nails perfectly. It's easy to see why he was chosen to be the villain. I'm just looking at the cast on IMDb right now. Obviously, Jacob Batalon, who of course was from the Spider-Man trilogy. He plays again the comic relief. He's the best friend of obviously Jack Quaid's character. He's like, you hear him early on via a voice because he's playing like a online friend that he's never met. But obviously, after seeing the trailers and everything, you know already who he is. So you know when it comes to the point of him revealing his face from behind a disguise, you're like, well, I know that was going to happen because I've seen the fucking trailers. But it was still a funny reveal when it happened, and then it obviously involved like some action moments later, which was pretty cool. But as I say, I think overall, it's a very good action flick. It's got some good music in the background. It's got a strong lead performance. It's got some strong supporting performances, and obviously there's some really good practical effects for some of the gory moments involving, let's say, broken bones and the bullet wounds and stuff like that. There's some really good practical effects for this movie. So, I say it's one of those ones where heading into it, I was expecting it to be a fun action flick. Heading out of it, it pretty much stood to obviously my pre-thoughts of what I was expecting from it. And I say, for me personally, I think it surpassed those pre-thoughts. I think it was better than I thought it was going to be. So again, I thought it was going to be good. I thought it was going to be. Entertaining was my least for it. Obviously, I saw the reviews beforehand. I was like, okay, so it might surpass my expectations. So my bar, after seeing some of the reviews, did get raised, and then after I actually saw the movie, it got raised even higher. Because it's definitely something I'd recommend checking out. It's on for an hour 50 minutes, so it is touching 2 hours long. But it's one of those ones where it's worth it because it's this run the mill by the books action flick, but the twist of lack of pain adds to the more fun and the more chaoticness that the film can offer. And I say on paper, when you go and you add these two ideas together, you go on paper, you go, okay, that sounds like it could be a crazy movie, and on the big screen it is said crazy movie, and it's definitely something that's worth checking out if you haven't checked it out yet. So yeah, I think if I was to give it a score, I'm looking at like a 9 out of 10 easily. It's fun, it's action packed, it's got heart. Yeah, it's got a generic twist in there. Not talking about the pain receptor. That's not a generic twist. That's a unique twist. But no, there's a generic twist involving the bank robbery side of the story. Which, if I'm being honest, when I first saw the trailer, I called the twist after I watched the trailer and was like, "This has got to be a twist here, and it's gonna be that." And as I say, when I watched it, I was like, "Yeah." It was an obvious twist, and there's a few moments early on in the film that help you know that the twist is actually going to happen. Like there's a few hints early on, and it does. So that is like a very generic moment, but I can look past it because all the other aspects of this movie are nailed perfectly, and make it a very fun watch. So yeah, I feel like a 9 out of 10. I can't wait to see what Jack Quaid has next in store. I'd like to see him definitely do like another action film, because he can, well, handle an action flick. So I'd definitely like to see him do another one. But we'll see. So yeah, obviously the other film I watched, if I quickly get that on my phone while I'm doing this as well, so I can get some of the information up as well. Obviously also released, obviously in March. This one was released at the end on the 28th, and that is A Working Man, the David Ayer directed Jason Statham flick. So this follows on from their collaboration last year with obviously The Beekeeper, which was like a pretty big hit in terms of the amount of money it drew in, he got a pretty decent response, if I remember correctly, from obviously audiences as well. Critics, more, I can't remember off the top of my head, I think it was like a mixed response, similar to this one. But again, just like this one, Beekeeper, this one as well had a pretty decent audience response. And it didn't do too bad in its opening weekend as well. I think it made like, what, $35 million, which isn't too bad to be fair, considering its budget's only $40 million. But yeah, obviously this continues their collaboration after that. And similar to that, this focuses on a former, someone who's basically, was he a former soldier in Beekeeper? It's been a while since I watched Beekeeper, but obviously he's, in this one, obviously he's a former soldier who works, well, he's a working man. He works at a builder site for a family that basically treat him as family. And he's essentially the head of essentially the foreman of the site, making sure all the workers get the job done. And obviously, his past training, he obviously gets caught up in a fight, which is spotted by the owner's daughter, and she's like, oh, I didn't see anything, but obviously, you got my back if anything happens. So that's kind of where this movie kicks in, because the fact that obviously the daughter of the owners, she gets kidnapped, and because of this pact he had of, I've got your back, obviously he has to go save her. Obviously there's a moment where he refuses at first, and he's sort of sitting back and he's trying to figure out, I don't want to get into this formal life, because obviously, unlike the Beekeeper, this one obviously has got a plot involving a daughter, obviously, well, him having a daughter, and it obviously showcases him trying to deal with the fact that obviously his wife is dead. Obviously she committed suicide, and obviously he's trying to deal with the fact that her dad is trying to take custody of obviously his daughter away from him, because obviously he doesn't see him as a stable individual because of obviously his past military experience. So he's obviously internally debating, do I get involved, do I not get involved? Obviously he speaks to a former friend played by David Harbour, obviously a blind former soldier who obviously was like, do what you do. You don't need my permission to do what you're going to do. Just go for it. So obviously the rest of this movie then follows him trying to track down obviously the missing daughter, trying to figure out who's taken her. Gets involved in obviously the Russian essentially mafia, because obviously it's all linked through them. And then from there, it's just obviously Jason Statham going around kicking ass. And this one's probably more generic, because it's basically a kidnapping movie. And it's just Jason Statham going around being Jason Statham. So this one's probably more generic than Novocaine. There's less of a twist, which is probably why it doesn't stand out as much as Novocaine. And personally, I prefer the Beekeeper, because I like the idea with that being, obviously he was helping this woman, and then she gets conned by a bunch of con artists over the phone, and she loses a lot of money for charity, and then obviously she commits suicide, and then obviously it forces him to basically want to get revenge for her. I think I like that idea more than just being like, oh, this obviously daughter's been kidnapped, I go rescue her. I think I just prefer the idea of the Beekeeper a bit more. I like the idea as well, the fact that it wasn't just a beekeeper. Like the whole point of him being a beekeeper is linked to his past, into his actual job description, not necessarily being he keeps bees. More about his obviously how he deals with situations. I think that was like a more unique and cool way, and obviously that kind of was like lightning in the bottle. Like, it was good. Yeah, it wasn't great, but it was pretty damn good. And this for me, it doesn't reach that same standard. Like, I still think it's pretty as good, but personally, it's just a case of I'd put the Beekeeper over this one. Like, for me, this has got some, again, just like Novocaine, it's got some good music. There is some really good music in this movie to accompany a lot of the sequences. There's an interesting story that's obviously slowly getting unraveled, and obviously, if you watch the trailers, you can't, and obviously early in the movie as well, you kind of think the whole reason the kidnapping is happening because obviously, they're trying to get to this family, but of course there's more to it than that. Because obviously the hint early on, obviously that it's through the family, is obviously you see like how much obviously this daughter wants off them for like this a graduation party, and it's like a massive sum of fucking money. You're thinking, oh, maybe that these people are after him because obviously they've got a lot of fucking funds. But like I say, there's more to it than just that, which adds to it being a pretty interesting movie. Because I say, as it's unraveling, you're like, okay, it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be in terms of like the reasoning behind stuff, but this is interesting. This works. And as I say, there's a lot of really good action sequences to accompany this movie, and I feel it applies to Novocaine as well. You're making an action film, you need to have a few action sequences that stand out, or else you're not going to have it's going to be shit. But as I say, just like Novocaine, this one has some really good action moments. I mean, the first one you get, which is obviously the building site, which is in the trailer, when obviously this guy's getting harassed and he basically beats the crap out of him, showing off his skills for the first time. That was a pretty good sequence. You've got a fight scene in an apartment, which is pretty good. There's a fight scene in the back of a bar, which is pretty decent. Like, it's pretty hard hitting. Like, Jason Statham getting slammed into the ceiling and like punching people in the faces, throwing them around, like people that are twice his size beating the crap from him. That's pretty like fucking really good, pretty interesting to watch. And also in the final fight sequence of the film, the final action set piece is this massive, spectacular essentially, and that really stands out. It's probably is one of the best sequences of the movie. So I say it's got some really good action sequences that it's required to, or else it wouldn't be anything good. I feel like they could have lent more into his own daughter plot on a bit more, because they scatter it around and they don't really do a massive amount with it. They do enough to get by, but I feel like they could have probably done more, like maybe put her in danger or something, maybe force his hand a bit more. But it's one of those things where they added that, it probably would have been improved. But I mean, the film, what? Oh, an hour 56 minutes. I didn't think it was that long. For me, to be honest with you, I thought it was shorter than that, but apparently not. It's longer than Novocaine. But still, if they added that bit more of a plot line, they probably could have intertwined it a bit more and took out some other sequences. Like, for example, maybe the first instance when he goes to meet David Harbour, maybe they could have took that out, and that time they had there, they could have used later on, and had again another big action set piece. But for what it is, it works. It's just a few tweaks I probably personally would have liked a bit more to improve the movie. But still, I'd say it's your run-of-the-mill Jason Statham flick, and it sums up the run-of-the-mill Jason Statham flick by the fact that the screenplay not only was by David Ayer, but it was also by Sylvester Stallone, and obviously the whole movie is produced by him, which I didn't realise. But it's not surprising how close Stallone and Statham are. But still, as I say, it does the job it needs to be, which is, this kidnapping action flick where someone who has a past with being obviously a soldier is forced out of retirement, let's say, and is forced to use their old life skills to save someone they care for. But I felt like it probably would have hit harder if it was his own daughter he was going after, rather than someone else's. But they wouldn't be able to do the one plot line they did. I mean, they could have, but it would have been, weird. But still, I mean, I've got the IMDb page up right here, and obviously he's got the trailer at the top, and it's showing the one fight sequence when he's like slamming this guy's head against concrete, which is fucking like, ooh, like hard to watch. But still, I mean, again, similar to obviously Novocaine, obviously it's got a pretty good lead. Obviously, yes, Jack Quaid's better in the lead than Statham, but Jason Statham is suited more for the action. The rest of the movie is just Jason Statham being Jason Statham. At least he's not like trying to put on an accent. At least he's keeping his English accent, and they work that into the plot. But other than that, if you're looking like I said, I'm looking at the cast. Obviously, they do have like a massive amount of like supporting cast members, but the main focus of this one is Statham. I mean, even the villain really isn't like a major focus. I mean, Jason Fleming gets like quite top billing on the opening credit sequence, and he's barely in this movie. I think it's literally, this says like Jason Statham. Then it says obviously Jason Fleming's name, and literally Jason Fleming is in like one sequence of this movie early on. And that's it. Before his character's written out the story and utilized more for another character's vendetta, essentially. Like this one is more focused on Statham. Yeah, I say Novocaine was more focused on obviously Jack Quaid, but there was a lot of focus heavily on obviously Ray Nicholson's villainous character and obviously Amber Mindhunter, and on top of that, obviously the police plot line. Whereas this, the Russian plot line, which he kept paying to, a lot of it was obviously, it wasn't like massive, and it was more just leading up to them all trying to get involved in this final fight. It just wasn't anything. The supporting cast of this one weren't like amazing. They were okay. But obviously this type of movie, when let's say when you lead, in this case, your main focus is Jason Statham, of course your supporting cast isn't going to be the top draw. The main idea is, well, Statham, and he gets the job done, he gets the action done, he gets the serious moments just about done. But as I say, I just think, obviously I preferred Novocaine to it. Obviously I think Hayden also preferred Novocaine to this one. But I know she said it was better than she was expecting it to be. But as I say, I was expecting it to probably be about the Beekeeper level, but just, for me personally, it just didn't hit that level. So, yeah. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to say about this movie, to be fair. I'm kind of half asleep right now. So, fuck it, I'm just going to rate it. I think for a rating, I'd probably give A Working Man an 8 out of 10. Like I say, it's probably one of the better 8 out of 10 movies I've seen this year. But it could have been better. It could have easily been better than The Beekeeper if they made a few tweaks in the story. And just like maybe it had some better villains. Like the villains are okay. It didn't help that me and Hayden spent most of the time going, these people look like if you got someone, if they basically look like they're cosplaying as other people. Like the one villain kind of looked like he was cosplaying as Tom Cruise in Interview with a Vampire. That probably didn't help us with those villains. And then on top of that, two of the villains were like in like British TV shows. So again, we're watching this and picturing them as these other characters. And then to top it all off, the one villainous character, they fucking made him look like a magician at one point. But on top of that, he wasn't just looking like a magician. He kind of looked like the Penguin, as in like the classic Penguin with the big fucking Cruella de Vil like cigarette in his mouth, i.e. from like the 1966 Batman show. He kind of looked like that, and it was points where this movie wasn't meant to be funny, but there was moments where he kind of made you unintentionally laugh, and I don't think a movie like this should be getting you like that. Especially when this one's meant to be more of a serious action flick compared to Novocaine, which is meant to be more your comedy action. This one's meant to be more action, but there's these unintentional comedy moments that kind of make you laugh and throw you out of it a little bit, and I think they kind of don't help a bit. So, yeah, I feel like an 8 out of 10 is pretty decent. I mean, there's a biker gang plotline as well, which I'm not too sure why they kind of got involved like in the finale. Like obviously just to add more bodies to the count, but it's just like, you can actually explain why they like turned up here. Like, yeah, I know Jason Statham kind of lied to him at one point, but like, are they going there to rescue the bad guy and save him, or what? I don't know. It's just, I just want more Michael Pena in this movie. He wasn't in it enough. I fucking love Michael Pena because of obviously Ant-Man, but still, he wasn't in it enough. Why not make him the villain? Why not get rid of his daughter being kidnapped plotline and have him the villain and kidnap Jason Statham's daughter? There you go. Get more Michael Pena in this movie. But yeah, so I think that 8 out of 10 is okay for this one. So Novocaine 9, A Working Man an 8. So yeah, obviously if you've seen either of these movies, put your thoughts on them in the comments below. Obviously, you can check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, etc., etc. Alex and I are actually starting Split Fiction within the next week. As I'm literally recording, I'm watching it in store currently because we're going to try and actually sit through this game instead of Supermarket Together, so that's on hold for a while. I did put it in the description on the last video, but obviously in case you didn't read that, this is me saying that show's on hold for a while, probably a good couple of months, depends on how long we spend on Split Fiction, and if we decide to move on to something else afterwards instead of going back. So we will go back at some point, but at the moment it's just on hold. So I can't think of anything else I really want to say. Yeah, I think that covers everything. So yeah, obviously I was on top of the usual platforms for podcasts. You can check it out on YouTube, along with all the other content I have available for you. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this double review of me struggling to get through them because I'm generally running on fumes right now. This weekend has been just shoddy for me. My sleep pattern is just gone. So yeah, I apologize if I feel like if it seems like I'm kind of out of it. It's because I kind of am, but I've tried my best, and hopefully my best is enough. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
If you like what you've seen, don't be afraid to throw us a little like and subscribe. That's always very appreciated over here. And well, I'll see you on the next video.